Segment 1. The Why It Sucked to Be a Soldier in the Trojan War. Part 1. The Sound of the Horns. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a camp. The smell of damp earth mixed with the faint scent of burning wood filling the air. The vast plain stretches before you, interrupted only by the shadow of the towering walls of Troy in the distance. The clanging of metal, the soft murmur of voices, and the rustling of soldiers' armor create a rhythmic hum. The sun, slowly dipping toward the horizon, casts long shadows across the tents and the rows of sharpened spears. You are one of many, one among thousands. The sound of horns, faint but growing louder, signals another dawn of battle. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation. Yet beneath that, a cold uncertainty lingers. The days and nights blur together in this place, with a smell of salt from the sea mixes with the sweat and anxiety of those gathered here. The rhythms of life in the camp have become strangely monotonous. Every day feels like a repeat of the one before. The same routines, the same motions, the same faces. You go through the motions, donning your armor, checking your weapon, sharpening your sword, but there's no real sense of purpose anymore. It's as if the war itself has become the only thing that exists, a backdrop to the lives of men like you, who once had dreams of honor and glory. The heavy weight of your armor presses down on you, a reminder of the life you've chosen, or perhaps the life that's been chosen for you. You didn't want this war, not really. You didn't want to spend your days stuck on a foreign shore, waiting for a battle that never seems to come. But here you are, in the heart of the Achaean army, facing an enemy that you've only heard about in stories. The soldiers around you are talking, but their words are muffled in your ears. They talk about victory, about the gods, about Troy, but their voices are distant, like echoes from another time. You wonder if any of them truly understand what this war has become. This is not about the glory of victory anymore. This is a war of attrition, where survival becomes a victory in itself. The weather, too, seems as tired as the soldiers. The oppressive heat of the midday sun gives way to the chill of the evening. The firelight flickers, casting fleeting shadows on the faces of men who have become strangers to one another, yet share a bond forged in the heat of war. The flickering light reveals faces weathered by hardship, eyes dull with exhaustion. There is no time for respite, no time for reflection. The war has taken hold of everyone here, slowly suffocating any remnants of hope. The camp itself, once a place of bustling activity, is now eerily quiet. The sounds of preparation for battle, the sharpening of weapons, and the final prayers for courage have become a backdrop to the unspoken dread. You watch as your fellow soldiers gather in small circles, exchanging nervous glances or muttering prayers to gods who may not be listening. The air hangs heavy, as though the very earth around you knows what is coming. The few who are brave enough to speak openly about it are those who can no longer ignore the creeping sense of futility. The days pass, the battles come and go, and the walls of Troy remain unyielding. You can hear the distant clang of metal on metal, the sound of combat echoing across the plains, and yet here you are, waiting for the command, waiting for the opportunity to make your mark, to prove yourself. But with every passing day, the idea of glory seems increasingly distant, replaced by the cold, harsh reality of survival. The very nature of this war feels like a slow, painful erosion of your soul. There is no escaping it now. The soldiers are no longer fighting for the honor of their homeland or for the gods. They are fighting for the chance to return home, to escape this endless nightmare that has become their reality. The sound of the horns grows louder still, pulling you from your thoughts. The call to arms is unmistakable. The time has come. You gather your thoughts, steady yourself, and walk toward the front lines once more. The weight of your armor, your sword, the expectations of those who sent you here, and the knowledge that this war may never end, they all settle on you. You take a deep breath, feeling the sand beneath your feet, the warmth of the sun, the sound of the horn, and the steady beat of your own heart. And then, in a moment, the chaos begins anew. Part 2. The weight of anticipation. As the days drag on, the weight of waiting presses down on you like an unseen hand. The soldiers around you try to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but there is no escape from the tension that hangs thick in the air. It has been months, perhaps longer, and yet the promise of victory, the reason you've all endured the hardship, seems as distant as the faraway shores of home. You can hear the distant sound of waves crashing against the cliffs, a natural rhythm of the sea that is far more predictable than the uncertain life you now lead. The rhythmic sound of the waves is a reminder of the world beyond the walls of Troy, a world you may never see again. Some days, you can almost taste the salty air of the sea, imagine the warmth of the sun on your face, or hear the familiar sounds of home. But those memories are slowly fading, replaced by the constant presence of war. Around you, soldiers engage in quiet conversations, their words low, almost inaudible, as if speaking too loudly might somehow break the fragile calm. Some laugh, but it is a hollow laughter, born out of nerves rather than joy. Others sit in silence, staring at the ground or the horizon, lost in their thoughts. You wonder if they, too, long for something more, a purpose beyond the battle, a peace that seems unreachable. The soldiers' faces, once vibrant with youth, now were the marks of time and hardship. The sun, relentless as ever, has darkened their skin, and the dirt that clings to their faces and bodies has become part of them. There is no escape from the filth and the heat. The stench of sweat, of bodies crammed together in cramped quarters, hangs in the air like an unwelcome guest. You've grown used to it, or at least you think you have. But the discomfort isn't just physical. It's mental, too. The constant pressure to prove yourself, to stay strong, to continue fighting wears away at your spirit. The idea of battle, once filled with the excitement of glory and honor, now feels like a never-ending cycle of struggle. Each day brings a new challenge, more training, more strategy, more waiting. The soldiers around you have become like machines, functioning on the rhythm of war. But inside, there's a growing sense of resignation, a realization that this may be a war without an end. At night, the camp falls silent, save for the crackling of the fire and the occasional murmur of a soldier in his sleep. The stars above are distant, cold, their light a reminder how small you feel beneath the vast sky. The night air carries a chill, a stark contrast to the heat of the day. You huddle in your tent, the worn fabric offering little protection from the elements, and try to sleep. But sleep does not come easily. Your mind drifts, as it always does, to the family you left behind. Your wife, your children, your friends. What is it like for them now? What do they think of this war? Do they, too, long for an end to this endless cycle of violence? You try to picture their faces, but the memories are fading. Everything feels distant, as though the life you once knew is slipping away, replaced by the rhythm of war and the uncertain hope that someday it will end. The soldiers in the camp are like you, tired, worn, and filled with the same doubts and fears. Some have already begun to speak of going home, of abandoning the war and returning to whatever life they left behind. Others, more determined, insist that they will fight until Troy falls, that they will achieve the glory they've been promised. But deep down, you know that glory is a fleeting thing. It is not the reason you continue. It is the hope of survival, the quiet desire to return home, to feel safe again. As the night wears on, the camp grows quieter still. The sound of the soldiers breathing, the soft rustle of fabric, the distant murmur of conversation, all of it fades into the background. There's only the sound of your own heartbeat, slow and steady. As you drift in and out of sleep, the weight of the day's struggles heavy upon you. But even in the quiet of the night, there is always the distant, ever-present reminder of the battle to come. The next day will be the same as the one before, but the outcome is unknown. The only certainty is that, for better or worse, you will be there. You will fight. Part 3. The Relentless March. The morning sun rises over the camp, its harsh light illuminating the endless stretch of the battlefield that lies beyond the walls of Troy. The dust rises in the distance, carried by the wind, as the armies prepare for another day of conflict. The routine is unchanging. Soldiers form ranks, check their weapons, and move toward the front lines. There is no excitement, no cheer. There is only the steady march forward, the same steps taken each day, the same motions repeated. You tighten your grip on your sword, feeling the familiar weight of it in your hand. It's not the sharpest weapon, nor the most well-crafted, but it is all you have. The edges are worn, the handle rough from years of use. You wonder how many others have held it before you. How many soldiers have fought with the same sword, only to fall? The thought lingers for a moment, but you push it aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. The heat of the day is already becoming oppressive, the air thick with dust. The sound of marching feet fills your ears as your comrades move in unison, their footsteps heavy and deliberate. The camp, once full of life, now feels empty in comparison to the constant motion of the soldiers. The battlefield, too, seems endless, a vast expanse of dry earth, scattered with the remnants of past battles. The air smells of dust and sweat, the stench of conflict that never seems to fade. As you approach the front lines, your heart begins to race. The sight of the enemy camp, the walls of Troy rising before you, is both familiar and unsettling. It has become the backdrop to your life. You know every inch of this land, every corner of the battlefield, but it is still a place of fear, of uncertainty. The waiting is unbearable, the anticipation a constant pressure in your chest. The soldiers around you speak in hushed tones, their voices low and steady. Some pray to the gods, others mutter curses. There is little conversation anymore, only the quiet camaraderie of those who have fought together for so long. The bonds formed here are unspoken, but they are strong. You are all in this together, whether you want to be or not. You know the battle is coming, but you cannot predict how it will unfold. Will this be the day that the city of Troy falls? Or will it be another day of struggle, of fighting for survival? The uncertainty is maddening. The battle could begin at any moment, and when it does, you'll be thrust into the chaos once again, a small part of a much larger machine. The sound of a trumpet pierces the air, signaling the beginning of the assault. The soldiers around you begin to move with purpose, their steps quickening as they prepare to face the enemy. You follow, your heart pounding in your chest, your grip tightening on your weapon. The tension in the air is palpable. This is what you've been waiting for, the moment of truth. But even as you march toward the enemy lines, you cannot help but wonder if this war will ever end. Will the walls of Troy ever fall? Or will this be another day of battle, followed by another night of waiting? The weight of the uncertainty presses down on you once more. And so, you march forward, knowing that the only thing certain is the battle ahead. Part 4. The calm before the storm. As the sun climbs higher, the air grows even hotter, and the ground beneath your feet becomes hard and cracked from the endless exposure to the heat. You stand among the ranks of soldiers, your armor now feeling heavier with each passing moment. The weight on your shoulders seems to mirror the weight in your heart, a constant burden that has no end in sight. You've been here long enough to know that the waiting is often worse than the battle itself. The anticipation gnaws at you, a dull ache that doesn't go away. You can hear the distant sounds of preparation, horses neighing, men shouting orders, the sound of weapons being checked and sharpened. The clamor of the camp begins to blend together, a rhythm that pulses through your veins. But the moment you've been dreading, the one that could bring a change to all of this, has not yet come. The soldiers around you stand still, silent for the most part, lost in their own thoughts. Some try to find comfort in companionship with their fellow soldiers, offering a word of reassurance or a joke, though the humor is strained, as if even laughter has grown tired. Some look out toward the distant walls of Troy, their eyes hard, as if willing the city to fall. Others stare at the ground, perhaps lost in memories of home, the faces of loved ones growing faint with time. As the sun beats down upon the camp, a breeze stirs the dust, carrying with it the faint smell of salt water from the sea. It's a strange comfort, the smell of the sea, for it reminds you of the world beyond this battlefield. It was once a world of simplicity, fields, rivers, homes. Now, it seems like a distant memory, fading like the colors of the evening sky. The quiet hum of the camp feels almost unnatural in its stillness. There is no shouting, no rush to move. Soldiers simply stand at the ready, awaiting the signal that will send them rushing into battle. Time seems to stretch, the minutes dragging on with unbearable slowness. In these moments, the true nature of war becomes apparent. It is not only the violence of battle that wears on you, but the quiet moments in between, the waiting, the wondering, the uncertainty. You find yourself looking at the soldiers around you. Some seem to have already accepted their fate, their faces a mask of calm resignation. Others, though, look nervous, their hands trembling as they grip their weapons. A few even exchange nervous glances, silently questioning whether today will be the day that ends it all. You try to steady yourself, reminding yourself that this is a life you've chosen, the life you must endure. You can feel the weight of your armor once more, pressing down on you, but this time it's different. It feels less like protection, and more like a constant reminder of the responsibility you bear. You are not just fighting for yourself. You are fighting for something much larger than you, the honor of your home, the promise of victory, and, perhaps most importantly, the chance to survive. But survival is becoming more and more uncertain. Every day feels like a cycle that could repeat itself forever. The battle could come today, tomorrow, or not at all. No one knows. The uncertainty gnaws at you, the fear that there may be no escape from this endless war. Will you ever see home again? Will you ever feel the warmth of your loved ones, the softness of the grass beneath your feet, the sound of familiar voices? Or will this battlefield, this war, be your final memory? The sun climbs higher and the heat becomes unbearable. The sweat on your brow drips down your face, mingling with the dust. The soldiers around you begin to fidget, restless in the stillness. Some tighten their grips on their weapons. Others adjust their armor. The waiting is becoming too much to bear. And then, without warning, the signal comes. A single horn blares across the camp, loud and clear. It is a call to arms. In that moment, everything changes. The stillness shatters like glass, and the air fills with movement and noise. Soldiers spring into action, grabbing weapons, donning armor, preparing for the battle that will come. There is no time to think, no time to second-guess. The war has called, and you must answer. The sound of the horn echoes in your ears. Its call both a relief and a fearsome summons. The waiting is over. The battle has begun once more. Part 5, the first clash. The ground trembles beneath your feet as you march toward the battlefield. The chaos around you is palpable. Soldiers shouting orders, horses galloping, the clanging of weapons as they are drawn from their scabbards. The air is thick with tension, charged with the impending violence of the conflict. You move with the rhythm of the army, your footsteps matching those of the soldiers around you, all of you bound by the same grim purpose. The landscape before you has been transformed. What was once a quiet plain is now a vast expanse of war. The earth is scarred from previous battles. Deep gashes from weapons, broken shields, the remains of past skirmishes scattered across the field. The smell of blood and dust hangs in the air, a constant reminder of the toll this war has taken on both sides. As you approach the front lines, the reality of what lies ahead settles in. The walls of Troy rise before you, an imposing barrier that has withstood countless assaults. But today, there is a sense of finality in the air, a feeling that this day may be different, that the city may finally fall. You can hear the distant sounds of the Trojan defenders preparing for the battle that awaits. The rhythmic beat of your heart matches the pounding of your feet as you draw closer to the enemy lines. The tension is unbearable now, a knot in your chest that tightens with each step. You can feel your breath quicken, the cold sweat on your brow, and the heavy weight of your sword in your hand. And then, without warning, the first clash erupts. The sound of metal on metal rings through the air, the cries of men filling the silence. The battle has begun in earnest. The world around you turns into a blur of motion. Flying arrows, the thud of feet on the earth, the clash of shields and swords. You fight as you have been trained, moving instinctively, your body guided by the years of training that have led to this moment. The battle is chaotic, a swirling mass of soldiers locked in a brutal struggle for survival. The noise is deafening, the sounds of clashing steel, the screams of the wounded, and the shouts of orders all mixing together into an overwhelming cacophony. But amid the noise and confusion, there is a strange calm that settles within you. It is not the peace of safety, but the stillness of focus. In this moment, you are no longer a soldier fighting for glory or honor. You are simply a man trying to survive, trying to make it through the chaos of battle. Part 6, the weight of the fallen. As the battle subsides, the dust that rises from the ground lingers in the air, settling into the sweat on your skin. The once crisp blue sky is now a dull, hazy gray, thickened with the remnants of conflict. The The battlefield before you is transformed into a sorrowful tableau. A patchwork of bodies, weapons, and shattered shields scatter across the earth. The cries of the wounded, the whispers of the dying, are distant now, their voices fading into the cold silence that follows the chaos. Your own body feels heavy, as if the weight of the battle has been pressed into your bones. The armor that once seemed like a shield now feels like a burden. Each movement sluggish, each step more labored than the last. Your sword, once gleaming and sharp, is now tarnished with the signs of the battle. A dullness, a reminder of the violence you've just endured. The way of the fallen soldiers, your comrades, your enemies, all the same in their silent stillness, presses down on your soul. You stand amidst the ruins of what was once a field of hope, now reduced to a graveyard. The battle has not been won. It has simply been fought. The city of Troy still stands, its towering walls as unyielding as they were at dawn. The anticipation of victory, the promise of glory, feels far away now. All that remains is a reality of what war truly is, an endless cycle of struggle, pain, and survival. The wounded soldiers are being carried away, their faces pale and contorted in pain, their cries barely audible over the gentle hum of the wind. You pass by them, your own injuries barely felt in the haze of exhaustion. Your body aches, but it is nothing compared to what you have witnessed. The broken bodies, the shattered dreams, the lost hope. The true cost of the war is written not in the outcome of battles, but in the lives that are lost one by one. You feel a strange emptiness inside, as if something has been ripped away, something vital, something you cannot replace. The faces of the fallen soldiers linger in your mind, their eyes wide open, their expressions frozen in the final moments of their lives. They were once like you, full of hope, full of life. But now, they are gone, swallowed by the very war they fought for. The battlefield is quieter now, save for the sounds of men mourning their fallen comrades, the shuffling of feet as soldiers go about their grim tasks. The aftermath of battle has settled into a weary routine. But for you, it feels as though the world has shifted. The way of the fallen soldiers, the sense of loss, follows you as you move through the camp. There is no joy in victory, no satisfaction in the battle you've just fought. Only the slow, creeping realization that the war will continue, and with it, the cycle of suffering. As the sun sets, casting long shadows over the battlefield, you find yourself staring at the horizon. The city of Troy looms in the distance, just as it always has. Its walls are still standing, impervious to the countless assaults it has endured. The enemy, too, stands firm, unwilling to yield. And you, a soldier in this endless war, must rise again tomorrow to face it once more. The night falls quickly, and with it, the camp settles into a subdued silence. The sound of the day fade away, leaving only the quiet rustle of the wind through the tents, the soft murmurs of soldiers as they seek rest. But sleep does not come easily. The faces of the fallen, the weight of the battle, linger in your mind, and you cannot shake the feeling that this war is far from over. The night stretches on, cold and still. The moon, pale and distant, casts its light over the camp, and the stars above seem far away, indifferent to the struggles of the men below. You close your eyes, but sleep eludes you, for the weight of the fallen soldiers, the weight of the war, presses heavily on your soul. Part 7, the endless cycle. The days blend together in a blur of routines. The sun rises and sets, its passage marked by the same actions, the same preparations, the same drills. The camp is a living entity, a mass of bodies that moves as one, its rhythm unchanging. The soldiers move with mechanical precision, each step as predictable as the last, each action as familiar as the one before. There is no longer any excitement in the morning drills, no thrill of anticipation. There is only the slow, unyielding march of time. You stand in the midst of it, your eyes scanning the familiar surroundings of the camp. The tents are the same, their fabric worn and faded from the sun and the wind. The weapons are the same, dull and chipped from constant use. The air smells of dust and sweat, a mixture that has become almost comforting in its predictability. But beneath the surface of this monotonous routine, there is a deep, gnawing ache, a longing for something more, something beyond the endless war. The soldiers around you move with the same purpose. their faces as tired and worn as yours. They speak in low voices, sharing quiet words of encouragement or fear, but there's little real conversation anymore. The war has become too all-consuming. The soldiers no longer speak of victory or glory. They speak of survival, of getting through another day, of making it through another battle. The war, it seems, has become the very fabric of your existence. There is no life beyond it, no escape from its grasp. You cannot remember what life was like before this constant struggle. You cannot remember what it was like to wake up in your own bed, to walk through a peaceful village, to see the faces of your loved ones. All of that feels distant now, a memory that has faded like the colors of a dream. As the day stretches on, you find yourself lost in thought, caught in the rhythm of the camp. The soldiers around you are busy with their tasks, but you are adrift, your mind wandering. The world outside the camp seems so far away, so unreachable. You wonder if it even matters anymore. The war is all that exists now, all that will ever exist. The call to arms comes once more, pulling you from your thoughts. The sound of the horn echoes across the camp, and the soldiers around you move with practiced ease, gathering their weapons, donning their armor, preparing for battle. There is no hesitation, no fear. There is only the rhythm of war, a constant pulse that you have learned to follow. You join the ranks of soldiers, your sword heavy in your hand, your armor weighing you down. The battlefield is before you once again, and you know, deep down, that it will be no different from the last. The walls of Troy remain unbroken. The enemy is still there, waiting for you. And you, like every other soldier, must march forward, knowing that the cycle will continue. The war is endless. It will never end. And yet you fight. You fight because there is nothing else to do. You fight because it is all you know. The rhythm of the war, the endless cycle of battle, has become your life. And so, you march forward, your feet heavy with the weight of it all. Part 8. A faint hope. Despite the weight of the war, despite the endless cycle of battle, there are moments when the soldiers dare to dream. The nights, though filled with the weight of the day's struggles, offer fleeting moments of rest. In the quiet hours of the night, when the camp is still and the stars shine brightly above, there are moments when you allow yourself to hope. It is a fragile hope, one that is easily crushed by the harsh light of day. But for those brief moments, when the world is quiet and the sounds of battle are far away, you allow yourself to imagine what life could be like beyond this war. You think of home, of the family you left behind, of the peace you long for. The idea of returning home, of finding a life untouched by the horrors of war, is a dream that lingers in your mind. But it is a dream that feels more distant with each passing day. The war, the constant waiting, the endless battles, they have a way of wearing down even the strongest hopes. And yet, in those quiet moments, you hold on to that hope, as fragile as it may be. You cling to it, even as the reality of war presses in around you. The morning comes again, as it always does, and with it, the return to the harsh rhythm of life in the camp. The soldiers around you rise, preparing for another day of struggle. The sounds of the camp fill the air once more. The clattering of armor, the shuffling of feet, the low murmur of voices. The war continues, and you, like every other soldier, are swept along by its current. But even as you march forward, the faint hope lingers. It is a small thing, a delicate thing, but it is enough to keep you going. For in the midst of the endless cycle of war, it is a hope of something beyond it that keeps you alive. And so, you march forward once more, your feet heavy, but your heart still holding on to that fragile hope. The war is far from over, but for now you fight and you dream. The clash continues for what feels like hours, the battlefield becoming a blur of motion and pain. But even as the fight rages on, you cannot escape the feeling that it has all been for nothing. The city of Troy still stands, the walls unbroken, the enemy fierce and unyielding. Every battle, every clash, seems to bring you no closer to victory. It is a slow, grinding war, one that seems to have no end. And as the battle continues, you are left wondering, what is it all for? Will this war ever end? Will you ever see home again? The first clash is only the beginning, and the weight of the war presses down on you once more, as relentless as ever. Segment 2, The Life of Hector, the Trojan Hero. Part 1. The Weight of Leadership. Imagine yourself as Hector, the eldest son of King Priam, standing before the mighty walls of Troy. The weight of the city's hopes rests on your shoulders, but it is not the glory of battle that fills your heart. No, it is the quiet responsibility of leadership, the knowledge that you are not only fighting for your life, but for your people, your family, and your city. Troy is a city of grandeur, its high walls towering above you, the stone gleaming under the midday sun. Yet, despite its imposing strength, there's an air of tension in the streets, a quiet unease that mirrors your own internal conflict. The sounds of the city, children laughing, merchants calling out, the shuffle of feet on cobblestone streets, seem distant as your mind turns inward, preparing for the battle ahead. You are a warrior, yes, but also a prince. The role of the soldier comes naturally to you. You have been trained for this from a young age. But it is the mantle of leadership that weighs most heavily upon you. As the eldest son, you are not just a participant in the war. You are its embodiment, its very heart. The city of Troy looks to you for guidance, and its survival depends on your strength. Your armor, worn but polished, feels heavy as you fasten it. The weight of it is not just physical. It is the weight of the countless lives that depend on you. Your people, your wife Andromache, your infant son, Astyanax. Their faces flash in your mind. Andromache's soft smile, her hands gently cradling your son. Their love is a comfort, but it is also a constant reminder of what is at stake. The quiet hum of the city is interrupted by the distant sound of horns, signals of preparation, of an impending battle. You know that soon you will be called to the front lines. It is your duty, your destiny, to protect Troy and its people, to lead them to fight against the Achaeans. But the weight of this responsibility presses down on you, and in these moments, as you stand before the gates of Troy, you wonder if it is all worth it. Your mind drifts back to the day you first put on armor as a child, the day your father, King Priam, told you of your duty. You will protect this city, Hector, he had said. You will lead the Trojans to victory, or you will die trying. Those words echo in your ears now, more urgent than ever. The war has stretched on for years, and you have fought tirelessly to defend your people. But the truth is undeniable. This war has cost more than you can imagine. It has taken the lives of your brothers, your comrades, your friends. And now it may cost you everything. You step forward, out into the sunlit streets of Troy, your soldiers gathering around you. Their faces are familiar, but today they look different. Their eyes are filled with the same weariness you feel, the same uncertainty. You meet their gazes, and in that moment, you understand them. Understand their fears, their hopes, their weariness. They are not just soldiers. They are fathers, brothers, sons. Like you, they fight not just for the glory of war, but for the people they love. The rhythm of the city continues around you, but you are aware of the quiet stillness that surrounds you now, the calm before the storm. The weight of Troy's future presses heavily on your chest as you prepare to leave the city behind once more and march toward the battlefield. The sound of your footsteps, echoing in the silent streets, seems to mirror the rhythm of your own heart, steady, yet filled with dread. The moment of battle draws near, and you feel the pull of fate. This is your path, the path that has been set for you since birth. The path of the warrior, the hero, the leader. But even heroes feel fear. Even leaders doubt their ability to lead. And in these quiet moments, as you stand before the walls of Troy, you wonder if you are truly ready for what is to come. Part 2. The Call to Battle. As you step forward, your soldiers fall into line around you, their eyes watching you with a mix of respect and hope. They are your brothers, your comrades, and yet, in this moment, you feel more isolated than ever. The weight of leadership has set you apart from them, and though you stand at the front, you cannot shake the feeling that the distance between you and them is growing with each passing day. You turn your gaze toward the horizon. The plains of Troy stretch out before you, the earth marked with the scars of past battles. It is a quiet, desolate place, now filled with the memory of death. And yet, despite the emptiness of the land, you know that another battle awaits you, another fight that will test the limits of your strength, your courage, and your resolve. You glance back at the city, its walls still standing tall and proud. Within those walls, your wife Andromache waits for your return. Your son, Astyanax, is too young to understand the danger you face. But one day, he will grow up and ask about his father, about the man who fought to protect their home. You wonder if your legacy will live on, if your name will be remembered with honor, or it will be lost in the dust of history, like so many others before you. The call of the battle horn cuts through your thoughts, sharp and sudden, pulling you back to the present. The soldiers around you begin to move, their armor clinking with every step, their faces set with determination. You lead them forward, your steps in time with theirs, the rhythm of the march steady and purposeful. Each step takes you further from the city, further from the life you once knew. As you approach the front lines, the sounds of battle grow louder, the clash of metal, the shouts of soldiers, the thundering of hooves. These are the sounds of war, the sound of the life you have chosen. The ground beneath you seems to vibrate with the intensity of the conflict, and the air is thick with the scent of dust, sweat, and the faint smell of smoke from the burning torches. The sight before you is overwhelming. The battlefield is a chaotic sea of men and horses, the enemy lines just ahead. It is as if the world itself has become a battleground, and you are caught in the middle, pulled between the pull of duty and the knowledge that this war may never end. You can see the Achaeans gathering, their weapons raised, their eyes focused on the prize that lies ahead, Troy. You feel a pang of fear deep within you, a fear that is almost unfamiliar. It is not the fear of death, for you have long come to accept that death may come at any moment. It is a fear of failing those who depend on you, the fear that, despite all your efforts, the walls of Troy may never fall, that the battle may be lost, that your people may never know peace. But you cannot show fear. Not now. Not in front of your soldiers. Not in front of the city you have sworn to protect. You straighten your back, tighten your grip on your spear, and take a deep breath. You are Hector, the Prince of Troy, the protector of your people. You have fought countless battles, and you will fight this one too. For them, for Troy, for your family. The battle begins in earnest, and the world around you is filled with noise, shouting, the clash of metal, the screams of men in pain. But despite the chaos, despite the violence that surrounds you, there is a strange calm within you. It is a calm of knowing your purpose, the calm of knowing that you are not fighting for personal glory or fame, but for something greater, something that has always been more important than you. You charge into fray, your soldiers at your side. Your movements are swift, practiced, the rhythm of battle ingrained in you. Every step, every thrust of your spear is guided by years of training, by the weight of your heritage, by the duty you have sworn to uphold. In the heat of the battle, there is no room for doubt, no room for hesitation. The clash of metal against metal fills your ears, the heat of the sun pressing down on your back, the sweat streaming down your face. The world is a blur of motion, of violence, of survival. But through it all, you remain focused on your goal, to protect your people, to defend your city, to keep Troy standing against a tide of invaders. Part 3, the weight of honor. The battle rages on, the chaos of the fight blending together in a cacophony of noise and movement. The sound of clashing weapons, the shouts of soldiers, the pounding of hooves, all of it feels distant, as though it is happening in another world. The only thing that matters now is the battle before you, the fight for survival of Troy. You are caught in the rhythm of war. Strike, parry, retreat, advance. Your body moves on instinct, each motion as natural as breathing. You have fought this way for years, and yet each battle feels the same. The enemy may change, the strategy may evolve, but the essence of war remains unchanged. It is a cycle, a never-ending loop of violence and survival. But even in the midst of battle, there are moments when your mind drifts. You think of your family, of Andromache and Astyanax. You wonder if they are safe, if they are thinking of you. And as the battle unfolds around you, you are reminded of the weight of honor that you carry on your shoulders. You are not just fighting for survival. You are fighting for the legacy of your people, for the future of your son, for the memory of Troy. The Trojans look to you for guidance, for strength, for leadership. In your eyes, they see the hope of victory, the belief that Troy can withstand the might of the Achaeans. And though you carry this burden with pride, There are moments when it feels almost too much to bear. The weight of your people's hopes, the knowledge that their survival depends on you, presses down on your chest like 1,000-pound stone. In these moments, as you fight, as you lead, you wonder if this is a true cause of honor, this burden of responsibility, this constant struggle to protect those you love. Is it worth it? Is the price of victory worth the cost of your own soul? These questions linger in the back of your mind, unanswered, as you continue to fight, as you continue to lead. The battle shifts, the tide of war turning in ways that are both expected and surprising. The enemy grows stronger, more determined, as though they sense that the end is near. And you, Hector, stand at the center of it all, your spear raised high, your resolve unshaken. You fight not just for Troy, not just for your family, but for the very idea of honor itself. In the heat of battle, you understand something fundamental. Honor is not something that can be won or lost on the battlefield. It is something that lives within you, something that drives you to fight, to endure, to protect. It is the force that keeps you moving forward, even when every part of you longs to stop, to rest, to surrender. And so, you continue to fight, your body weary, your spirit steadfast, your heart filled with a quiet strength that comes from knowing that, no matter the outcome of this battle, you have given everything for what you believe in. Part 4. A moment of peace. Amidst the chaos and clamor of the battlefield, there are moments, fleeting but precious, when time seems to slow. For the briefest of seconds, the noise of clashing swords and the screams of the wounded fade into the background, and you find yourself standing alone, surrounded by the quiet hum of the world. The battle continues around you, but you are no longer fully aware of it. You are lost in thought, drifting away from the blood and the death. If only for a moment, you stand at the edge of the field, your eyes on the city of Troy. The walls, once a symbol of invincibility, are now the heart of your every thought. You see them not as stone and mortar, but as a sanctuary, a home filled with the faces of your loved ones. Andromache, Astyanax, your father, King Priam. Their faces, once so vivid in your mind, now seem distant, as though the very war you are fighting is slowly eroding the memories of peace, of normalcy. It is strange, this feeling of distance. In the midst of the most brutal conflict of your life, you find yourself longing for the simplicity of home, the laughter of your child, the quiet moments shared with your wife, the calm before the storm. You wonder if, in some distant corner of your mind, you are still that young man who once dreamed of glory. Not the heavy burden of leadership, not the weight of a kingdom on your shoulders, but the simple, unfettered joy of living. But that man is long gone. You have become someone else, someone shaped by war, by duty, by loss. Every battle you fight, every day you spend on this blood-soaked soil, chisels away at that version of yourself. And yet, even in this brutal transformation, there is a certain peace, a sense of resolve, of duty fulfilled, of knowing that, in this moment, you are doing what you must. The sound of a horse's hooves breaks your reverie, bringing you back to the present. A rider, one of your soldiers, approaches with a look of urgency on his face. His breath is labored, and his voice trembles as he speaks. The Achaeans are regrouping Hector. They're preparing for another wave. The words are a reminder that, as much as you wish for peace, as much as you long for a world untouched by the horrors of war, the battle does not wait for you. It continues, relentless and unforgiving. You nod solemnly, feeling the weight of your armor settle heavily once more on your shoulders. The moment of peace, so brief and fragile, is gone, replaced by the reality of the fight. There is no choice but to return to the front lines, to lead your soldiers once more into the fray. But before you turn to face the battle, your thoughts drift one last time to Andromache, to your son, to the life you once dreamed of. You wonder if they, too, long for this war to end, if they, too, wish for a time before all of this. But as quickly as a thought comes, it fades. The battle calls you, and there is nothing left to do but answer. Part 5. The final stand. The battle rages on, and this time there is no stopping it. The clash of swords, the roar of the soldiers, the screams of the dying, all of it blends into a singular, deafening noise. It is a sound that you know well by now, a sound that has become as familiar to you as your own heartbeat. But today, it feels different. The rhythm of war has changed. It feels more urgent, more desperate. You fight with every ounce of strength you have left, your body moving on instinct, guided by the years of training, the legacy of your ancestors, and the memory of those you fight for. The battle is a blur of motion. Your sword strikes, your shield blocks, your feet move with precision that comes from countless repetitions. There is no room for doubt, no time to question your actions. There is only the battle and the people you must protect. But even as you fight, you feel the toll of it all. Your muscles ache, your breath comes in ragged gasps, and your thoughts, once so sharp, have become clouded by fatigue. You push forward, though, for Troy, for your family, for the city that has given you everything. The Achaeans press harder now, their ranks closing in on you. You can see their leaders, Achilles among them, his figure towering above the rest. You know that to face him is a challenge unlike any other, but it is a challenge you must face, for there is no retreat now. There is only the fight, only the hope that you can hold back the tide of invaders long enough to give Troy a chance. As the battle draws on, you feel the weight of your actions pressing down on you. Each blow you strike, each soldier you bring to ground, is another step toward the inevitable end. You know that this war cannot last forever. One side must fall. One city must give way to the other. And as you fight, you cannot help but wonder if it will be Troy that stands at the end, or if it will be the Achaeans, their ships sailing whole with the spoils of war. The air around you grows thick with the heat of battle, the earth beneath you churning with the weight of warriors on both sides. You cannot afford to stop, to pause, to think. The fight demands everything from you. And so you continue, fighting, leading, surviving, hoping somehow that the end will be worth cost. And then, in the distance, you see him, Achilles, the man who had become a legend, the warrior whose strength is unrivaled. He stands at the heart of the enemy, his armor gleaming in the sunlight. You know that this moment has come, the moment you have long dreaded. You will face him one-on-one in the final battle that will decide the fate of Troy. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself. The world around you slows. The noise of the battle fades into the background. There's only you and there's only him. The final stand. The moment that will define everything. With a determined step, you begin to move toward him, your sword held high, your shield steady. The weight of your people, the weight of your honor, presses down on you. This is not just a fight for survival. This is the fight for the legacy of Troy. As you draw closer, the silence between you and Achilles grows. The noise of the battle becomes distant, as if the world itself has paused to watch this moment unfold. And then, with a crash, your swords meet. The battle between you is fierce, a dance of death that has been years in the making. Each strike, each parry, is a culmination of everything you have fought for. And in that moment, as the two of you clash on the battlefield, you realize something fundamental. This war, this fight, is not just about victory. It is about meaning. It is about purpose. It is about what you leave behind when the battle is over. And as the fight continues, you know that no matter what happens, Troy, your people, and your legacy will live on. Part 6. The Fall of Hector. The battle rages on, the world around you becoming a blur of motion. Your muscles are weary, your sword heavy with each strike. Yet you continue. Every movement is more deliberate than the last, a rhythm of survival ingrained in your body from years of training. But as you fight, you feel the weight of the battle pressing down on you, the exhaustion beginning to seep into your very bones. And then, amidst the swirling chaos, there he is, Achilles. He stands before you now, a figure of immense power, his armor gleaming in the fading light of the day. His eyes lock with yours, and for a brief moment, everything else fades away. The sounds of battle, the screams of dying men, the clash of weapons, all of it vanishes. There is only you and him, the culmination of everything that has brought you to this point. Achilles is a legend, a hero of unmatched strength. His name alone is enough to stir fear in the hearts of men. And yet, despite the fear that rises within you, there is no hesitation. You are Hector, the protector of Troy. You have fought for the city, for your people, for your family, and you will fight until the very end. The moment hangs between you like a fragile thread, each of you waiting for the other to make the first move. You raise your sword, the familiar weight of it in your hand. It feels like a lifetime ago that you first held it, full of youthful hope and dreams of glory. Now, it is heavy with the knowledge of what is at stake. Achilles steps forward, his spear raised, his eyes locked on you. The ground beneath your feet seems to tremble with the force of his presence, but you do not flinch. You meet his gaze, your mind clear, your body ready. The weight of your duty is undeniable, but it is your honor, your resolve, that will guide you through this moment. And then, in a flash, the world erupts into motion again. You are no longer just a man. You are a force of nature, fighting for everything you hold dear. The sound of clashing metal, the shouts of your soldiers, and the rush of adrenaline flood back into your senses as you face the great Achilles, your opponent, your equal in strength. The battle between you is swift, brutal, and unforgiving. Every strike, every parry, is a test of will, of endurance. The clash of your swords reverberates through the air, the sound ringing out across the battlefield. You fight not just for survival, but for the memory of Troy, for your people, for your family. But as the battle draws on, you feel the toll it is taking on you. Your movements become slower, your breath more labored. The weight of your armor, once a familiar comfort, now feels like an insurmountable burden. You feel the burn in your muscles, the exhaustion seeping into your very core, and yet you do not stop. You cannot stop. The fate of your city rests on your shoulders. And then, in a moment of vulnerability, it happens. Achilles strikes, his spear piercing to the gap in your armor, sinking deep into your side. The pain is unimaginable, a sharp, searing fire that spreads through your body, but you stand tall. You do not fall. You do not yield. You look up at Achilles, your vision blurred, your strength failing, but there's something in his eyes. It is not victory that shines there, but a grim respect. He knows that you are no longer just the Prince of Troy. In this moment, you are something more, something that can never be defeated, something that transcends a battle, the war, and the city itself. As you fall to your knees, the world around you seems to slow. You hear the distant sound of your soldiers, the quiet murmur of the dying, the whimper of the wounded, but it all feels so far away. The pain in your body, the weight of your final moments, grows heavier, but there's a strange sense of peace that accompanies it. You have done everything you could. You have fought for your people, for your family, and now it is time to rest. Your mind drifts, and you see Andromache, her face filled with love and fear. You see your son, Astyanax, his tiny hands reaching for you, his innocence untainted by the horrors of war. You see the city of Troy, its walls strong and unyielding, and you know in that moment that you have given everything for them. You have fought to protect them. And though your body may fall, your spirit will remain with them forever. And as your vision fades, you feel a final, quiet sense of gratitude. The war may have taken everything from you, but it has also given you the chance to stand for something greater than yourself. Your name, Hector of Troy, will live on not in the annals of history, but in the hearts of those you have protected. Part 7, The Legacy of Hector. The battlefield is quiet now. The sounds of battle have faded, leaving behind only the echoes of what once was. The bodies of soldiers, both Trojan and Achaean, lie scattered across the field, their lives claimed by the war. The earth is stained with the remnants of their struggle, and the air is thick with the scent of death and dust. But amidst the destruction, there is a silence that is almost sacred. It is a silence that speaks of loss, of sacrifice, and of a future uncertain. For Hector, the warrior, the prince and protector of Troy, has fallen. His body lies in the dust, but his spirit, his legacy, will endure. The Trojans, though they mourn his loss, know that Hector gave everything for them. He fought not for glory, not for personal gain, but for the future of his people. His name will live on in the stories of Troy, in the memories of his family, and in the hearts of those who fought alongside him. Andromache, his beloved wife, will carry the weight of his memory for the rest of her life. She will raise their son, Astyanax, in the shadow of his father's greatness, teaching him the values of courage, honor, and sacrifice. Though Hector will never see his son grow up, his legacy will be passed down to the generations a quiet testament to the man he was. King Priam, Hector's father, will mourn the loss of his son, the heir to his throne, but he will also honor him. Hector's name will be remembered in the annals of Troy, not as a fallen soldier, but as a hero who gave his life to protect the city he loved. And so, the city of Troy, though it may one day fall, will always carry Hector's legacy. The walls will stand, the people will rebuild, and the memory of Hector will continue to inspire future generations. For in the end, it is not the outcome of the war that defines a hero, but the courage to sacrifice and the unwavering commitment to protect those he loves. Part 8. The aftermath of Hector's fall. The battle that claimed Hector's life rages on, but his death marks a quiet turning point. The sun, now low in the sky, casts long shadows over the battlefield. The air is heavy with the smell of blood and dust, mingling with the distant scent of burning wood from the scattered fires that have started to smolder in the wake of the conflict. The Achaeans press on, their victory over Hector a cruel triumph. Their soldiers, once uncertain, now move with renewed vigor, emboldened by the fall of Troy's greatest hero. The warriors of the city, too, seem to falter in the wake of their leader's death. Hector was their pillar, the one who led them with unyielding strength and an unwavering sense of duty. His absence leaves a void, a silence that cannot be filled by the clamor of battle. The city of Troy, once proud and defiant, now seems fragile. The great walls, once symbols of invulnerability, now stand like a broken promise, weakened by the weight of loss. The once confident soldiers who fought by Hector's side now move as though they are not sure what they are fighting for. The heart of the city has been shattered, and with it, the resolve of its defenders. In the aftermath, a deep sorrow falls over the surviving Trojans. The city mourns Hector, not just as a warrior, but as a symbol of everything they have fought for. His death is not merely the loss of a leader. It is the loss of hope itself. The promise of victory, the idea that Troy could withstand the Achaeans, now seems increasingly fragile. It is not the city's physical walls that will determine its fate, but the spirit of its people. For the citizens of Troy, there is no reprieve. The weight of the future presses heavily on their hearts. Their greatest hero has fallen, and in his place, there is only the uncertainty of what is to come. They must face the harsh truth that the war is far from over, and that more will die before this conflict is resolved. Andromache, Hector's wife, stands by the gates of Troy, her eyes searching for a sign, for any word of the man she loved, the father of her child. Her heart aches, torn between hope and fear. She has already lost so much, her home, her peace, her security, and now, with Hector gone, she fears for her son's future. The life they had dreamed together is slipping away, leaving only the cold, harsh reality of war in its wake. The cries of the women of Troy fill the air as they mourn their fallen husbands, sons, and brothers. Their voices, soft at first, rise into a mournful chorus that echoes to the streets of the city. The rhythm of their grief is steady, a sorrowful lullaby that marks the passing of an era. The streets of Troy are filled with the sound of mourning, of lives lost and futures uncertain. And yet, even in their sorrow, the people know they must carry on. King Priam, Hector's father, steps into the midst of the mourning crowd, his face drawn with grief. He is an old man, weighed down not only by the years but by the loss of his son, the hope of Troy's future. He is a king, a ruler, but in this moment, he is simply a father, heartbroken by the loss of his child. His body is weary, and the weight of his responsibility to his people has become a burden he no longer knows how to bear. He knows that the war is far from over, that Troy is not yet defeated, but he also knows that the death of Hector will change everything. In the quiet moments after the battle, Priam stands alone, gazing at the city he has sworn to protect. His heart is heavy with sorrow, but also with the knowledge that he must continue to fight. Hector's death, though devastating, has not been in vain. It is a call to action, a reminder of why they must not surrender, of why Troy must continue to stand. He knows that he must lead his people, not as a king, but as a father who has lost his son, yet still carries the weight of his legacy. Part 9. The Passing of a Legend. As the days pass, the people of Troy begin to rebuild. The devastation of battle is not easily overcome, but they are not without strength. They are a people bound together by shared loss, by the memory of the hero who gave everything for them. Even in the darkest of times, there is a glimmer of hope that refuses to be extinguished. The memory of Hector, his courage, his dedication, and his love for his city lives on in the hearts of his people. In the quiet of the palace, Andromache holds her son, Astyanax, close to her chest. He is too young to understand the weight of the world that has been placed on his shoulders, but his mother's love for him is boundless. She whispers to him of his father, of the hero who gave his life to protect them all. She tells him of Hector's strength, his honor, and the love he had for them. She holds him tight, trying to shield him from the pain of the world, though she knows that one day he will have to carry it himself. The city is rebuilding, piece by piece. The soldiers return to their posts, their faces filled with quiet resolve, though their spirits are still heavy. The walls of Troy, though scarred by the battle, still stand tall, as if a silent tribute to the resilience of the people who built them. The work is slow, but it continues. Troy will not fall, not yet, and not without a fight. The memory of Hector's sacrifice will fuel the efforts of every man and woman who remains. But as the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, the harsh reality of war continues to loom over them. The Achaeans remain at their gates, the threat of invasion never far from their minds. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The legacy of Hector will live on. His death has not been in vain. It has given his people the strength to carry on, to fight for their homes, their families, and their future. In the quiet moments, when the weight of the war presses too heavily on the shoulders of the Trojans, they remember Hector, his courage, his leadership, and his unwavering commitment to his people. The memory of his sacrifice will never fade, and the legacy of Hector at Troy will live on in the stories passed down to the generations. Part 10. The Eternal Hero. The war continues, but as the years pass, the story of Hector grows. He is no longer just a man who fought on the battlefield. He has become a symbol, an embodiment of the virtues that Troy stands for. His name is spoken with reverence, not only by those who knew him, but by those who came after. He is a hero whose sacrifice transcends the boundaries of his life, his death, and the city he fought to protect. Hector's story is told and retold, not as a tale of glory, but as one of enduring strength, of selfless love, and of an unwavering commitment to his people. His name lives on in the songs of the bards, in the hearts of the Trojans, and in the minds of all who hear his story. In this way, Hector is not truly gone. He has become eternal. Even after the fall of Troy, even after the city is reduced to rubble, Hector's legacy endures. His name is passed down to the generations, a reminder of the sacrifices made, the cost of war, and enduring power of love and honor. Hector of Troy, the protector, the hero, will never be forgotten. In the hearts of the Trojans, in the songs of their children, and in the stories whispered on quiet nights, Hector's spirit lives on. For though the city may fall, the hero remains eternal. Segment 3. The Mystery of the Trojan Horse. Part 1. The Calm Before the Storm. In the weeks following Hector's death, Troy stands as it always has, imposing, resilient, and proud. But the Trojans know in their hearts that the Achaeans are not far. The tension in the air is thick, the walls of Troy unable to silence the unease that spreads to the hearts of those who remain. The once thriving city now feels like a hollow shell, its great stone walls standing as monuments to the city's former glory, while inside, the people grow weary. At the edge of the city, the sea stretches endlessly toward the horizon, the calm waves reflecting the silence of the heart of Troy. The sound of the wind whipping through the city's narrow streets, and the distant calls of the watchmen on the walls fill the air. The city remains on high alert, for in their hearts, the Trojans know that the worst may still be yet to come. The Achaeans, too, are silent. Their camp on the plain is eerily still, the soldiers restless but wary. Days stretch into weeks, and yet there is no decisive move. The Achaeans are waiting. What are they waiting for? No one knows. It is in this moment of quiet suspense that the Trojan horse begins to take form, and with it, the seeds of one of the greatest mysteries of war. What is the purpose of this enormous structure? At first, it appears to be a simple, seemingly harmless offering from the enemy. A gift, a token of their surrender. The Achaeans, who have been besieging the city for years, have retreated. They leave behind this towering wooden horse, positioned at the gates of Troy, as if offering it in peace. The horse is large, immense in size, and carefully crafted, its form polished and carved with intricate designs. The sight of it on the battlefield is a strange one. Its presence is both disarming and unsettling. The Trojans, their spirits worn thin by years of war, look upon the horse with suspicion, but also with hope. Could it be the end of the war? Could the Achaeans at last have accepted defeat? Could this colossal gift be the final gesture, a symbol of peace, a promise of respite? But amid the whispers and cautious curiosity, there are those who remain uncertain. Their minds, still sharp from the countless battles fought, recognize that there may be something more to the horse. Something hidden, something sinister, lying just beneath the surface of this seemingly innocent offering. You can imagine yourself standing among the people of Troy, watching as the horse is carefully positioned outside the gates. There's a strange stillness in the air. The Trojans, worn and weary, gather to look upon it. The men whisper to one another, some expressing disbelief, while others wonder if it is truly a symbol of victory, a sign that their long siege is finally over. Yet within the hearts of some, there is a growing unease. You, too, feel it, the subtle shift in the air. Something is wrong, though you cannot quite place your finger on it. The days of war have left you weary, but they have also left you sharp, aware of the subtle clues that history sometimes leaves behind. The Trojans are not unfamiliar with the ways of warfare. The Achaeans may be retreating, but they are not known for their honesty nor their mercy. There are murmurs among the elders, those who have seen the true horrors of war, who understand that peace can sometimes be the most dangerous illusion of all. They look upon the horse and exchange knowing glances. Some shake their heads, their wisdom speaking louder than the hope that lies in the hearts of the younger soldiers and civilians. The horse is too perfect, too sudden, its presence too strange to be trusted. It is then that you begin to hear the first whispers of caution, the first doubts that stir like shadows at the edge of the city. Why would the Achaeans leave behind such a massive offering? What purpose could it serve? Could it be a trap? Could this be a ruse designed to weaken the Trojans and bring about their final destruction? Part 2. The Architects of Deception. In the days that follow, the Trojan Horse continues to loom at the gates of Troy, casting its long shadow across the city. The people are torn. Some see it as a symbol of peace, an end to the long and grueling war. Others, like the wise elders and seasoned soldiers, begin to see it for what it might truly be, a deceptive tool designed to bring about the downfall of Troy. The atmosphere in the city grows tense. The question of what to do with the horse becomes a matter of great debate. Should the Trojans pull it into the city as a symbol of victory? Should they destroy it to rid themselves of any potential threat? The decision weighs heavily on the minds of the leaders of Troy, and the elders, wise with the knowledge of the war and its many tricks, warn against accepting such a gift. You imagine standing in the council chamber, the walls echoing with the voices of the leaders of Troy as they argue over the fate of the horse. There is urgency in their voices, but also a sense of dread. They have heard the stories of trickery and deceit, of the ways that war can wear away at the soul of a nation, turning even the most honorable of men into pawns in a cruel game. They know the dangers of underestimating their enemies, of letting their guard down in a moment of false hope. And it is here in this council room that the seeds of the Trojan horse's true purpose begin to be planted. The generals of Troy, as well as the wise counselors, begin to piece together the subtle clues that they had ignored in the days leading up to this moment. Why would the Achaeans leave behind such an immense, costly gift? What would they stand to gain from this strange peace offering? It is the wise counselor, Laocoon, who speaks up first. His voice is steady but filled with an unmistakable sense of urgency as he warns the Trojans against trusting the horse. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts, he declares, his words filled with the weight of experience. He speaks of the Achaeans' cunning, their ability to deceive and manipulate, and the dangers of assuming that peace has arrived just because the enemy has withdrawn. His warning is met with skepticism by some, and yet there are others who are more inclined to listen. For Laocoon's reputation as a seer and a wise advisor precedes him, and his counsel is respected. However, despite his words, the voices of those eager for peace begin to drown out his warning. The idea of ending the war, of bringing an end to the suffering that has plagued Troy for so long, is too appealing to ignore. The final decision comes down to the leadership, and in a moment of misplaced hope, the Trojans decide to bring the horse into the city, believing that by doing so, they will finally be rewarded with the end of the war. The gates open, and with great ceremony, the horse is pulled into the city. The people of Troy rejoice, the mood in the streets lifting for the first time in years. They celebrate their supposed victory, the long siege finally coming to an end. But even as the people cheer, there is a strange unease in the air, a quiet discomfort that lingers like a shadow at the edges of the celebrations. You, too, feel it, the growing sense that something is terribly wrong. You know, deep down, that Troy's fate has just taken a fateful turn. Part 3. The Silent Night. As the Trojan horse is brought into the city, the night falls with an eerie quiet. The streets of Troy, once filled with the clamor of battle and the anxiety of impending doom, are now filled with the soft murmurs of joy and relief. The air is different tonight, as if the city itself is holding its breath, caught in a moment of false peace. The horse, now placed within the city gates, stands as an imposing figure in the moonlight. It's too large, too out of place in this quiet city of stone. A gift, a prize, and yet there is something about its presence that doesn't sit right. The Trojans, having spent so many years on edge, now lower their guard. The warriors and civilians alike begin to celebrate, their laughter echoing in the streets. And for the first time in a long while, there is a sense of hope. Families gather in their homes, speaking of a future that might now be possible. Perhaps in the morning, Troy will finally experience the peace it so desperately needs. But in the silence of the night, away from the drunken revelry and the quiet celebrations, a strange sense of foreboding lingers in the corners of the city. It is the night of rest, the calm before the storm, and for some, it is a night filled with dreams of doom. You stand in the shadows, looking at the horse from a distance, your heart uneasy. There's a part of you, deep within, that cannot let go of the warning. Laocoon's words echo in your mind, warning you of what could be hiding within this giant wooden figure. What if it is not a gift of peace, but a tool of destruction? What if, in your haste to end the war, you'll fall into a trap that will bring about the city's destruction? But there is no turning back now. The decision has been made. The horse stands within the gates of Troy, and the celebrations have begun. The Trojans, tired, worn down by years of war, have decided to trust in the hope that peace is finally at hand. Still, as you stand beneath the pale light of the moon, you cannot shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. The city, though alive with joy, feels too quiet, too still, as if it is waiting for something, waiting for the storm to break. The night stretches on, the distant sound of revelers a hollow contrast to the quiet, oppressive atmosphere around the city walls. In the distance, beyond the city gates, the Achaean fleet remains still, the ships anchored in the dark waters, their sails folded, their masts looming like dark sentinels in the night. Though the Achaeans have withdrawn, there is no real sign of peace in their absence. It is as if the calm before the storm is simply another trick, another move in the game of war that has been played for so long. You return to your quarters, your thoughts heavy with doubt. The festivities continue, but there is no joy in your heart, only an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. As you lie down to sleep, the shadows of the walls loom over you. The soft flicker of candlelight dances on the stone walls of your chamber, casting long shadows that seem to grow with the passing of time. The horse stands in the city now, a silent observer in the night. But what it conceals remains hidden, unknown, just as the future of Troy remains uncertain. You close your eyes, but sleep does not come easily. Instead, you drift in and out of restless slumber. The faces of loved ones, the cries of fallen soldiers, and the image of the horse playing over and over in your mind. Part 4. The Dawn of Deception. The morning light breaks slowly, casting a pale glow over the city of Troy. The celebrations that began the night before continue, but they feel different now, a little more forced, a little more hollow. The city, still basking in the glow of supposed victory, has let its guard down. The soldiers, who had once been vigilant, are now wrapped in the false comfort of peace. There are no calls to arms, no watchful eyes along the battlements. The warriors sleep, their dreams filled with thoughts of home, of life after war. But there are those who do not sleep. There are those who cannot shake the unease, the nagging feeling that something is terribly wrong. You rise with the dawn, your mind still clouded with the doubts of the night before. The sight of the Trojan Horse, its dark form standing in the city's heart, fills you with a sense of dread that refuses to dissipate. It is too quiet. The walls of Troy, once symbols of strength and pride, now feel like prison bars, locking the Trojans into a fate that is no longer in their control. The elders, those who have seen the world through the lens of battle and politics, gather in hushed tones. Laocoon, despite his previous warnings, is nowhere to be found. His words still echo in the minds of the people, but they have been silenced by the loud cries of those eager for peace. The horse stands as a silent monument to the Trojans' hopes and fears, but even those who have remained skeptical are beginning to soften, their doubt overtaken by their longing for an end to the suffering. But then, as the first rays of the sun illuminate the city, something shifts. The mood begins to change. There is a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a soft murmur that runs through the streets. The Trojans begin to stir, their hearts filled with a growing sense of unease. Whispers spread like wildfire. Strange movements near the horse, low sounds that cannot be ignored. And in the distance, the faint sound of creaking would reaches your ears. You make your way toward the center of the city, where the horse stands, towering above the people. The crowds are thinner now, their joy from the night before replaced by an anxious curiosity. The streets, once filled with the sounds of celebration, now seem quiet, the air thick with anticipation. And then it happens. The horse shifts. Slowly at first, but unmistakably. The creaking grows louder, the sound echoing through the streets. From within, there comes a subtle sound, one that makes your blood run cold. The scraping of wood against stone, followed by the soft shuffle of feet. You stop in your tracks, your heart pounding in your chest. The realization comes like a wave crashing against the shore. The Trojan horse is not just a gift. It is a trap. The Achaeans are not defeated. They are here, inside the horse. The first soldier emerges from the belly of the beast, his figure tall and shadowed. The people around you gasp, their faces contorting in disbelief. The horror of what is unfolding before their eyes begins to sink in. The horse was not a symbol of peace, but a vessel carrying the enemy deep within the city walls. The war has not ended. It has only just begun. Part 5. The Betrayal Within. The realization that the Achaeans are inside the Trojan horse spreads through the streets of Troy like wildfire. The shock and disbelief are palpable. The once joyful celebration now turning into a frenzy of panic. The sound of the soldiers' boots echo through the streets as they begin to emerge, one by one, from the wooden belly of the horse. The sky, which had only moments before been calm and peaceful, now seems to darken with the weight of what is happening. You watch in horror as the enemy's soldiers, their faces hardened by battle, pour into the city. Their weapons gleam in the sunlight, and their movements are swift, calculated, as if they had planned this moment for years. The Trojans, caught off guard and unprepared, scramble to respond, but it is too late. The gates of Troy, which were once symbols of strength, are now open, allowing the invaders to flood the streets. The soldiers who had once stood watch now scramble to arm themselves, but surprise and shock have left them uncoordinated, vulnerable. The city that once stood tall and proud now feels as though it is crumbling under the weight of its own hope, its own trust in the false peace that had been promised. You can hear the distant sound of clashing swords, the cries of fallen soldiers, the shouts of betrayal echoing through the streets. The Achaeans, having used the Trojan horse as their Trojan trick, have successfully infiltrated the heart of Troy. The Trojan people, now realizing the full extent of the betrayal, begin to fight back. But their efforts are disjointed, their resolve shattered by the knowledge that they have been deceived. The Achaeans have broken the unspoken rule of warfare, trust, and now, the city that Hector died to protect is falling. Part 6. The Fall of Troy. The sound of the battle grows louder with each passing moment. As the Achaeans pour into the streets of Troy, their swords raised high, their battle cries cutting through the once peaceful air. The Trojan people, shocked and unprepared, struggle to organize themselves. The promise of peace has dissolved into nothing but smoke and ashes, and now, Troy must face its reckoning. You stand in the middle of the chaos, your heart pounding in your chest. The city you have known your entire life is slipping through your fingers. Its streets once filled with laughter and love, now stained with blood and the clash of steel. The mighty walls, which had withstood countless assaults, seem like little more than a distant memory. The people of Troy, who had once believed they were safe, are now overwhelmed by the reality of betrayal. The Achaeans, having hidden within the belly of the Trojan Horse, now move swiftly and decisively. Their plan, years in the making, has succeeded. The city is theirs, and the streets are filled with the carnage of battle. The Trojan warriors, though brave, are outmatched and disoriented. Their hearts, once filled with hope and pride, are now heavy with fear and desperation. You move through the streets, your steps hesitant, your mind reeling from the shock of what has just unfolded. The air is thick with smoke from the fires that are beginning to spread throughout the city, the flames casting an orange glow against the darkening sky. The once beautiful city of Troy, with its grand temples and bustling marketplaces, is now a place of devastation and ruin. The sound of horses' hooves, of soldiers shouting, of weapons clashing, fills the air, drowning out everything else. As you move through the chaos, you come across the lifeless body of a fallen comrade. His armor is battered, his face frozen in an expression of shock. He was one of the many who had fought beside you, believed in the cause, believed that Troy could stand against its enemies. But now, his body lies among the others, a silent reminder of the cost of the war, of the price that was paid for misplaced trust and false hope. You feel a heavy weight in your chest as you look at the destruction around you. The battle, which had once seemed distant, has now become personal. The city you have sworn to protect is crumbling before your eyes, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. The people of Troy, your friends, your family, are caught in the grip of a nightmare that has no end. The walls that once protected them have fallen, and now they are exposed to the full force of the Achaean army. The noise of the battle fades for a moment, and you find yourself standing in the ruins of a once proud city, watching as the flames rise higher into the sky. You can see the silhouettes of the Achaeans moving through the streets, their faces cold, their eyes fixed on the victory they have longed for. And yet, as you watch them, there is no joy in their eyes, no celebration. They have won, yes, but they have also lost something that cannot be measured in gold or land or power. The destruction of Troy is not just a physical loss. It is a loss of hope, of dreams, of a future that could have been. And as the fires burn, you realize that in some strange way this battle, this war has cost everyone, both victors and vanquished, more than they could ever imagine. As the night falls and the fires burn brighter, you hear the distant cries of women and children, their voices filled with grief and terror. You know that, like the fallen soldiers, they, too, will be lost in flames. The city that once stood as a beacon of strength and beauty will be nothing more than a memory, a story told in whispers, passed down from generation to generation. And yet, despite the ruin, despite the overwhelming sense of loss, there is still a part of you, small, fragile, that believes that Troy in some way will live on. The people of Troy will rebuild, just as they always have. Their strength, their spirit will endure, even in the face of such overwhelming destruction. Hector's legacy will live on in their hearts, in the stories they tell their fallen hero of the city that once was. Part 7, The End and the Beginning. As the city of Troy is consumed by flames, a strange stillness begins to settle over the battlefield. The sound of the battle gradually fades into the background, and all that remains is the crackling of the fire, the soft whispers of the wind, and the distant, haunting cries of those who have lost everything. The city, once vibrant and full of life, is now a hollow shell. The great walls of Troy, which had withstood years of siege, have finally fallen, and with them, the last hopes of its people. You stand in the heart of the ruins, your heart heavy with grief. The battle is over, but the cost has been immeasurable. The city that you once called home, the city that you fought so hard to protect, is now reduced to ashes. The flames that consumed the building seem to mirror the devastation inside you. The war that once seemed distant, abstract, has now become all too real. The faces of the fallen, the cries of the wounded, the endless destruction. It is all too much to bear. Yet, even in the face of such destruction, there is a quiet, unspoken truth. The story of Troy, of its heroes, of its people, will never truly end. The fall of the city does not mark the end of its legacy. It is simply the beginning of a new chapter. The Trojan horse, once a symbol of hope, has now become a symbol of betrayal. But the memory of Hector, of his sacrifice, of his unwavering devotion to his people, will live on in the hearts of those who remain. Though Troy may fall, its spirit will endure. The people of Troy will rebuild, and the stories of their triumphs and tragedies will be passed down through the generations. The Trojan horse, the great betrayal that brought about the city's fall, will be remembered not just as a moment of defeat, but as a pivotal turning point in history. And Hector, the hero who gave his life for his people, will be remembered not just as a warrior, but as a symbol of the unbreakable bond between a leader and his people. The city of Troy may be gone, but its story will never be forgotten. The Trojan horse may have brought about its fall, but will never erase the legacy of the city that once stood proud against the tides of war. And so, as the fires burn and the last remnants of Troy fade into the night, you understand that this is not the end of the story. It is only the beginning of a new chapter, one that will be told for centuries to come, in the whispers of the wind, in the songs of the bards, and in the hearts of those who remember. Part 8. The Lessons of Troy. As the last embers of Troy's great city walls flicker in the dying light of the day, the silence that follows the devastation feels almost surreal. The once vibrant streets are now empty, the remnants of Troy's proud history scattered among the ash and rubble. The smoke from the fires rises like a funeral pyre, curling up into the sky, as if the earth itself is mourning the fall of a city that once stood as a beacon of hope and strength. Yet even in the face of such utter destruction, there is a quiet resilience that lingers. The survivors of Troy, though broken, are not without hope. They carry with them the stories, the memories, the legacy of their city and its people. The betrayal of the Trojan horse has cost them dearly, but the lessons it has imparted will echo through time. You stand amidst the rubble, your thoughts lingering on the final moments of Troy, the betrayal, the fall, and the deep sense of loss. But as you look out over the remains of the city, you also begin to understand that this is not the end. This is a new beginning. The people of Troy, scattered by the winds of fate, will carry their stories with them wherever they go, and so will the lessons of their demise. The Trojan horse, once a symbol of peace, now stands as a symbol of the price of misplaced trust, of the dangers of blind hope. The horse was a beautiful facade, a perfect offering from an enemy that knew exactly how to manipulate the emotions of those it sought to destroy. In the end, it was not the strength of the walls that failed, but the vulnerability of the heart, the trusting nature of those who sought peace when all they had known for so long was war. The lesson, though harsh, is clear. Victory, in its most deceitful form, can come wrapped in the guise of a gift. Peace can be as treacherous as the fiercest enemy, and the cost of trust can be more devastating than the wounds of battle. The Trojan people, in their moment of vulnerability, sought peace, only to find betrayal waiting within a hollow gift that had been offered to them. But the story of Troy does not end in defeat. The people, though scattered and broken, will remember what was lost. They will rebuild their lives, not on the foundations of the city, but on the strength of their memories, their honor, and the enduring spirit of their fallen hero, Hector. His name will echo through the generations, a reminder of the price of sacrifice and the value of loyalty. As the survivors of Troy move through the world, telling the stories of their city, they will pass down not only the tragedy of their fall, but the lessons it taught them. The Trojan horse, once a symbol of betrayal, will eventually transform into a cautionary tale, one that will echo through the ages. It will remind future generations of the fragility of peace, the deception of enemies, and the strength of those who choose to fight, not for glory, but for what they love. And so, as you reflect on the fall of Troy, you understand that the city's legacy will endure long after its physical destruction. Its story will continue to be told, not just as a tale of war, but as a tale of human nature, of pride, trust, and ultimately, the lessons learned too late. The Trojan horse, that wooden giant, will be remembered not just as the instrument of Troy's demise, but as a turning point in the story of a people who dare to believe in the possibility of peace. Part 9. The Echo of History. Time passes, and the city of Troy fades into the dust of history. Its once great walls are now little more than a memory, the ruins swallowed by time. The city that stood for centuries as a symbol of strength and power is now nothing but a place for travelers to pause, a shadow of its former self. But in that shadow, the memory of Hector, of the Trojan Horse, and of the lessons learned lives on. Though Troy may be gone, its story is far from over. The story of the Trojan Horse becomes a tale passed down through generations. The horse, which once represented hope, betrayal, and tragedy, is transformed into a symbol of both the fragility of peace and the enduring power of human resilience. The Trojans who survived their city's fall carry its lessons with them wherever they go. And so, across lands and generations, the Trojan story is told. In the great halls of kings, the courts of nobles, and the humble gatherings of common folk, the story of Troy, of Hector's sacrifice, and of the Trojan horse echoes. It serves as a reminder that history, no matter how distant, is never truly gone. It lives in the stories we tell, the lessons we learn, and the legacies we leave behind. The Trojan horse, which once brought the fall of a mighty city, becomes, in the end, a lesson for all of humanity. It teaches the dangers of complacency, the importance of questioning even the most seemingly benign offerings, and the courage to stand against deception, even when it is wrapped in the most enticing package. Part 10, The Timeless Tale. As we look back on the story of the Trojan horse, we realize that its significance transcends the ancient world. It is a story that still resonates today. The lessons of Troy, though centuries old, are as relevant now as they were when the city first stood at the heart of the ancient world. The Trojan horse reminds us that even in times of peace, we must remain vigilant. It speaks of the power of deception and the importance of questioning everything, even those things that appear to be gifts. It teaches us that victory can come in unexpected forms, and that sometimes our greatest strengths, our trust, our belief in others, our desire for peace, can also be our greatest vulnerabilities. Yet, as with all great tragedies, there is hope. The story of Troy, of Hector's sacrifice, and of the Trojan horse is not just about loss and betrayal. It is also about resilience, about the enduring strength of a people who continue to carry their legacy forward, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The survivors of Troy carry the lessons of their city with them, and they continue to tell the story, ensuring that the memory of their fallen city will never be forgotten. And so, the Trojan horse stands as a timeless symbol, both of the fragility of peace and the strength of the human spirit. A lesson passed down through the ages, from one generation to the next, ensuring that the story of Troy and its greatest hero will never truly fade. The city may have fallen, but story endures, echoing across the ages, reminding us all of the lessons of the past. Segment 4, The Elites of Ancient Troy. Part 1, Life Beyond the Walls. As the turmoil of battle rages outside, there exists a world within the walls of Troy, hidden from the chaos. It is a world of privilege, of power, and of politics, where decisions are made not with a clash of swords, but with a whisper of counsel in dimly lit chambers. Inside this world, the elites of Troy, kings, queens, nobles, and the wealthy, experience a life very different from that of soldiers and common folk who march into the fray. In the grand palace of King Priam, the air is thick with the scent of incense and fresh flowers, a stark contrast to the smoke and dust of the battlefield. The walls, decorated with exquisite tapestries depicting the city's greatest victories, seem to hum with the weight of generations past. The floors are cold underfoot, polished marble gleaming in the soft glow of oil lamps that line the halls. It is a world that feels removed from the horrors outside, yet it is built on the same foundation of power, loyalty, and sacrifice. Imagine stepping into this world, where every piece of clothing is woven with care, every dish served with elegance, and every conversation laced with both politeness and power. The nobles of Troy live in a bubble of luxury, their daily lives shaped by wealth and influence. Their servants, dressed in simple linen tunics, move quietly through the halls, attending to every need with precision and efficiency. But even in this world of comfort, there is an underlying tension. The Achaean forces, having laid siege to the city for years, remain a looming presence. The elites of Troy, though seemingly insulated from the front lines, know that they are not exempt from the consequences of war. The constant threat of invasion hangs over their heads, and the ever-present knowledge that the battle could soon reach their doorstep keeps them on edge. They understand that the security of their opulent lives is fragile, maintained by the strength of the warriors outside the gates. Within the palace, there is one figure who embodies the strength of Troy, the king himself, Priam, an elderly man, weary with the weight of both his crown and his grief. He stands as a final bulwark between the heart of Troy and the forces outside. His voice carries the weight of centuries of leadership, and his decisions are final. Yet, in the quiet moments when the palace is still and the weight of his decisions presses on him, he, too, questions the future. Priam's mind often drifts to his son, Hector, whose bravery and leadership on the battlefield have become the city's greatest hope. It is Hector's actions that have kept the flames of resistance burning within Troy's walls. But with the city surrounded and the war stretching on with no clear end, Priam wonders how much longer the city can stand. The queen, Hecuba, shares these concerns, though she bears them with a different grace. Unlike her husband, she is more attuned to the emotional cost of war, the toll it takes on the people of Troy, her children, and the families left behind. She walks the palace halls with quiet dignity, offering solace to those who mourn, yet never fully resting from her fears. She knows that the true cost of war is not measured in the number of soldiers who fall, but in the destruction of the lives that once flourished behind the walls of this palace. Still, there is no room for weakness here. The nobility of Troy must project strength, unity, and resolve, even when the walls seem to be closing in. As the day wears on, you watch the nobles convene in the palace's great hall, their discussions filled with the language of power. The merchants and diplomats are also frequent visitors, exchanging goods for favor, offering strategies to win the war or buy peace. They talk of alliances and betrayals, of promises made in the darkened corners of the city and the winds of change that might sweep through the ranks of the Achaeans. In this hidden world, the nobility discusses matters of state and defense, yet a subtle tension lingers in the air. They know that the Achaean strategy is shifting, that their enemies are not only focusing on the walls, but on breaking the spirit of the city, on finding ways to infiltrate the heart of Troy itself. Whispers of an invasion from within, the Trojan Horse, begin to circulate, though no one is willing to speak of it openly yet. The decision to bring the horse into the city will come not from the soldiers, but from the nobility. It is here, in the heart of the elite, that the fate of Troy is truly decided. As the evening shadows stretch across the palace, the sound of the wine pouring, the quiet laughter of guests, and the rustle of silks and fine linens fill the air. There is no outward sign of fear in these halls, but beneath the surface, the fear of betrayal runs deep. The Trojan nobility knows that the path forward will be fraught with difficult choices, and each decision they make could tip the scale between victory and ruin. Part 2. The comfort of the upper city. Though the threat of the war looms large, there are still moments within the heart of Troy's elite world when life seems almost unchanged. The nobility live their days in relative luxury, maintaining a delicate balance between the ongoing siege and their social lives. They gather for feasts, performances, and gatherings that are punctuated by stories of the past and discussions of the future. The world they inhabit is one of well-tended gardens, perfumed baths, and polished silver dishes. This world is preserved by those who benefit from the strength of their warriors, though they remain disconnected from the realities of the battlefield. Imagine walking to the upper city, the homes of the powerful, where marble floors gleam and delicate tapestries tell the stories of their ancestors. The air is sweet with the scent of blooming flowers, the scent of victory, at least for now. But even in this seemingly idyllic setting, there is no escaping the harsh truth of war. In one room, a fine feast is being prepared, its scent wafting through the air, roasted meats, honey cakes, and fruits from far-off lands. The food is abundant and the laughter is rich, but there is an underlying tension. The elites may dine and celebrate, but outside their grand homes, the war is unfolding with a terrible cost. You move past the kitchens where servants hurry to prepare the feast, their faces lined with exhaustion. These servants, though not often seen in the opulent chambers of the nobles, feel the weight of the war on their own lives. They are the silent workers who keep the city running, yet their struggles often go unnoticed. You see them, the forgotten ones, working tirelessly to maintain the lifestyle of those who lead. Their minds, too, are heavy with worry, for they know that even their own lives are fragile in this time of siege. Their children, their families, all of Troy's citizens share the same fate. Survival depends on the choices made by those who hold power, and those choices may well doom them all. In the grand halls of Troy's upper city, the finest fabrics drape the windows, filtering the sunlight into soft, golden rays. There is no fear of hunger or disease here. Yet, as you walk through these halls, you begin to notice the cracks, the absence of certain faces, the whispers that circulate quietly among the guests and the servants. Not all is well in this opulent world. In the grand, polished world of Troy's elites, behind the silken curtains and beneath the jewel-studded walls, there is an awareness, an unspoken understanding, that their world could fall with the same swiftness as a crumbling tower. It is only a matter of time. Part 3. The Price of Power. In the opulent courts of Troy, it is not only the riches that define the nobility, but their power. Power is a currency of this world, and it is exchanged not only in gold and silver, but in promises, alliances, and blood. The lords and ladies of Troy, though seemingly far removed from the battlefield, understand that their power is intimately tied to the fate of their soldiers. Without the warriors who defend the city, the nobles have nothing. Their wealth, their influence, their very existence would be meaningless without protection of the army and the strength of the city's defenses. The price of this power is steep. In the quiet moments of reflection, the nobles understand that their decisions, however small, can lead to catastrophic outcomes. As the crisis of the war grows more dire, their internal conflicts become more pronounced. There are those within the palace who secretly long for an end to the siege, for peace at any cost, while others cling to the idea of victory. They argue behind closed doors, their debates echoing to the corridors of the palace like thunder in the distance. The palace, though a symbol of wealth and influence, is also a place of pressure. The rulers of Troy understand the delicate balance they must maintain, both with their people and with their enemies. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and all that they have worked for could crumble. And it is this knowledge, this fear, that drives the decisions of the elite. It is not just about luxury or comfort. It is about survival. The true cost of Troy's power is not in the jewels and fine fabrics adorning the walls, nor in the banquets that are served nightly in the great halls. The price is in the lives of the soldiers, in the sacrifices made by those who fight in the mud and blood of the battlefield, far from the soft silks and polished marble of the elite's world. It is in the hearts of those who have pledged their loyalty to the leaders of Troy, who fight and die in their name, often without ever stepping foot in the world of luxury that the elites enjoy. As you move through the palace, you realize that the nobles of Troy are not just rulers. They are actors on a stage, playing their parts in a drama whose outcome is uncertain. Behind their polished exteriors lies a deep-seated fear of the unknown, of the day when the city they rule may fall. They understand that their power is fragile, their wealth fleeting, and that true strength is not in what they have, but in what they can protect. Part 4. The Politics of Survival. In the grand halls of Troy, beneath the glowing chandeliers and among the rich tapestries that adorn the walls, the nobility is engaged in a delicate dance. The war outside may seem like an unavoidable, unchangeable force, but within the walls of the palace, there's an ongoing political struggle, one where every decision could have far-reaching consequences. The elites of Troy, while outwardly appearing unified in their resolve, are anything but. Factions emerge within the court, each seeking to maneuver and shape the future of the city. There are those who believe that the Achaeans should be met with continued resistance, and those who argue for a negotiated peace. The desire to protect Troy, to preserve its grandeur, is strong within every noble heart, but the methods of achieving that protection vary greatly. You walk through the palace, past the chambers where the discussions are being held, and overhear snippets of conversations. Some of quiet wisdom, others filled with frustration and doubt. The leaders of Troy are not immune to fear, not immune to the growing pressure from the outside. Each one understands the cost of continuing this war, especially with the siege dragging on for years. Yet, there is pride at stake. If Troy surrenders now, what will remain of its honor? Within the palace, you observe Queen Hecuba, whose grace and dignity have been worn thin by the long years of conflict. Her soft voice carries a weight of wisdom, but the sadness in her eyes betrays the immense personal cost she has paid. She has lost many sons in the conflict, and with Hector's death, her grief has taken on a sharper edge. Though she remains a pillar of strength for her people, The weight of her personal loss shadows every decision she makes. King Priam, too, is not immune to this internal strife. His regal demeanor, once commanding and confident, now seems frail with the knowledge that his family, his kingdom, and his legacy are at risk. His mind is burdened with the realization that every move he makes could either lead to victory or the city's final destruction. Despite his years of rule, there's an uncertainty that clings to him. There is no definitive path forward, only the choices between which risks to take, which moves to make, and how much longer they can hold the line. In these private chambers, away from the public eye, the political discussions are far more than just debates over military strategy. The fate of Troy, and perhaps the fate of the world, hangs in the balance with every word spoken. As the noble families of Troy gather, they do not just discuss war. They discuss how they will live after it. How will they continue their legacy? Will they be remembered as a city that fought until the very end, or the city that faltered in its time of need? As these discussions take place, it becomes clear that the elite of Troy are not just players in a game of war. They are also heirs to a long-standing tradition, protectors of a great civilization. Their decisions will shape not only the future of their city, but the future of their culture. They will either see Troy rise from the ashes or fall into pages of history as a lost civilization. Every decision they make now is a step toward an unknown future. Part 5. The Final Council. It is late in the evening, and the palace is bathed in the soft, flickering light of dozens of candles. The shadows stretch long across the stone floors, casting an air of contemplation over the room. The great hall, where Troy's nobility gather, is filled with a palpable tension. The city is on the brink of collapse, and the time has come for the final council of leaders to decide its fate. The council chamber is filled with the most influential figures of Troy, each one speaking with a measured tone, but all carrying the heavy weight of their family's survival. Priam and Hecuba sit at the head of the table, their expressions weary but resolute. Their eyes, however, betray the pressure they feel, the uncertainty of their city's future weighing heavily on them. The advisors surrounding them are a mixture of generals, diplomats, and trusted counselors, each one representing a different faction of Troy's elite. Some advocate for immediate surrender, urging that peace be sought with the Achaeans, that the city's suffering be put to an end. Others, including the headstrong commanders who spent years on the battlefield, call for a final push for the full strength of Troy's remaining army to be thrown into the fray. But the problem is clear. Troy is running out of resources. It is only a matter of time before the Achaeans breach the gates. You listen intently as the arguments unfold, the tension in the air rising with each passing minute. The discussions become heated, with sharp words exchanged between the factions. Priam, usually the steady voice of reason, now appears almost overwhelmed by the burden of leadership. Hecuba's soft voice rises only once, when she speaks of the sacrifices made by their people. Her plea for unity is met with mixed responses, some agreeing with her, others growing more frustrated. Laocoon's earlier warning still lingers in your mind, a faint whisper in the midst of these heated debates. The Trojan Horse stands in the city, its presence a constant reminder of the trap the Achaeans have laid. The elites debate the wisdom of bringing the horse into the city. The idea that it could hold an army hidden within it remains too dangerous a prospect to ignore, but the desire for peace, for an end to the years of siege, remains a strong pull. Priam, after much deliberation, makes his final decision. He stands, his voice steady but filled with the weight of all that has come before. He declares that the horse will remain within the city for now, but only as a symbol of peace, not a weapon of war. The Achaeans must be given one final opportunity to negotiate. Troy's honor, he asserts, must be preserved at all costs, but there must be no further bloodshed unless absolutely necessary. The decision is final, and with it, the fate of Troy is sealed. The elite have made their choice. Peace, though fragile, is their hope. They pray that it will hold. But in their hearts, a cold suspicion lingers. The Trojan Horse, now a part of their city, carries a potential for something far more dangerous. Part 6. The Price of Sacrifice. The decision to bring the Trojan Horse inside the city gates is made, and the elite of Troy, though uneasy, return to their respective chambers. The last of the great feast for the warriors is held, but the celebrations are hollow. The music, once lively and full of spirit, now seems distant, as if it is playing in another world. The laughter of the nobles rings out, but it lacks the warmth it once had. The weight of the decision is felt by all. You stand in the midst of the people, feeling the burden of their choices. The sacrifices made by the soldiers, the common folk, and nobility are all bound together in this single act. The walls of Troy may be crumbling. The soldiers may be weary, but the elites believe that their decision will preserve something far more precious: Troy's legacy. As the night stretches on, the city's elite retreat to their chambers, their minds heavy with the events that have just unfolded. The price of their decisions is yet to be paid, but they know deep within that nothing can prepare them for the consequences of trusting in the Trojan Horse. Part 7. The Night of Decision. As the night falls over Troy, the once vibrant city now holds a heavy, almost suffocating quiet. The streets, once bustling with the energy of its citizens, are now eerily still. Even in the upper levels of the city, where the elite gather in their luxurious halls, there's an air of uncertainty, thick with the decisions that were made earlier in the day. The Trojan Horse now rests within the city gates, its massive form casting a long shadow across the streets. In the palace, the nobles gather, but the atmosphere is markedly different. The usual air of grandeur and celebration that once accompanied their gatherings is now absent. There is no laughter, no joviality in their discussions. Only a heavy silence hangs in the air as they share looks of uncertainty, their words hushed, almost fearful. The leaders of Troy, from King Priam to generals and diplomats, sit together in one of the palace's many grand chambers. Their faces are grim, each person wrestling with a decision made earlier in the day. Even the most confident among them begin to question the wisdom of bringing the horse into the city. It was meant to be a symbol of peace, an offering of victory. But as the hours tick by, the troubling question arises. Was it peace they had accepted, or something far darker, something hidden within the polished wooden walls of the horse? At the head of the table sits Priam, his face weary with the weight of leadership. He watches the nobles quietly, his own mind heavy with doubt. He has seen many battles in his time, but this is the first time he faces an uncertainty that cannot be solved by his strength or his experience. His body may be aging, but his mind remains sharp, and he knows that the decision made tonight could be the one that breaks Troy. His resolve wavers for the first time in years. Queen Hecuba, as always, stands by his side. She watches her husband, her eyes filled with both concern and understanding. She, too, feels the tremors of doubt in the air, but her loyalty to the city and its future keeps her silent for now. Her role, traditionally that of a mother, a counselor, a protector, has never seemed as fragile as it does now. If Priam falters, so does she. The nobles around them shift uncomfortably in their seats. Some are questioning the wisdom of their decision, while others continue to cling to the belief that peace is now within reach. Their discussions grow more heated as the night deepens. Some suggest calling a council of the soldiers to hear their opinion. Others want to bring the matter before the people. There are even whispers of sending emissaries to the Achaeans, trying to secure a more permanent truce. And yet, amidst the whispers and arguments, there is one voice that remains silent for now. Laocoon, the priest of Poseidon who had once warned against the Trojan Horse, watches the proceedings with a quiet intensity. He says nothing, but his gaze remains fixed on the horse, now resting in the center of Troy. His silence speaks volumes. Deep in his heart, Laocoon knows the truth. There is no peace in this gift. No matter how the elite of Troy may wish it, the horse is not a sign of surrender. It is the beginning of the end. The gods have not abandoned the city, but perhaps they have turned their gaze away, waiting for the people of Troy to realize that the true enemy lies within. Part 8. The Breaking Point. The hours stretch on, the silence of the palace, now pierced by the occasional murmur of concern. The decision that seemed so simple in the light of day is now clouded with doubt and fear. The Trojan Horse, which was once a symbol of their possible salvation, now stands like an ominous specter at the heart of Troy. The flame of hope that once burned brightly in the hearts of the people is now dimming, replaced by the cold realization that they may have misjudged their enemy. The generals of Troy sit in one corner of the grand chamber, their faces drawn and weary. They are men of action, warriors who have spent their lives on the battlefield, and yet In the face of this new, insidious threat, they feel powerless. They have fought alongside Hector, have given their lives to defend the walls of Troy, but now they are faced with an enemy that is not so easily fought with swords or shields. The Achaeans, with their cunning and deceit, have outwitted them. The Trojan Horse stands as a testament to their enemy's cleverness. Priam, sensing the growing unrest, rises from his seat and turns to his council. His voice, though still commanding, carries a note of weariness. He speaks of peace, of the sacrifices his people have made, of the need for a future free from the endless bloodshed. He appeals to the nobility, to their shared responsibility as the protectors of Troy, to put aside their fears and trust in the decision they have made. But as he speaks, he can see the doubt in their eyes, the uncertainty in their posture. The mood is shifting. What was once a council united by a shared goal is now fracturing, torn between desire for peace and the fear of what may come. At this moment, the doors of the chamber open, and a figure enters, one of the soldiers who had been stationed at the gates. His face is grim, his clothes disheveled, and his voice carries an urgency that cuts through the tension in the room. He reports that the horse, once brought into the city, is now being prepared by strange hands. The Achaeans, though gone from the battlefield, are still present in the shadows, their movements barely perceptible. There are whispers of something hidden inside, something that moves when no one is watching. The room falls silent, and the realization begins to settle like a heavy fog over the nobles. The weight of the truth is finally upon them. Their decisions, made in the hope of ending the war, have brought them to the brink of catastrophe. The Trojan horse was not a gift. It was the key to their destruction. Part 9, the last decision. The council chamber is suffused with a heavy silence as the realization settles in. The Trojan horse, once accepted with hope, is now revealed for what it truly is, a weapon, a trap designed to bring down everything Troy has fought for. The nobles who had gathered in the palace, so sure of their decision, now face the terrifying truth that they have been deceived. The face of King Priam is etched with deep lines, his brow furrowed as he grapples with the weight of his decisions. The guilt of having allowed the horse into the city, of having believed in peace when the cost was too great, crushes him. He stands before his people, the symbol of their last line of defense, and his strength, once so unwavering, now seems fragile. Hecuba, always a steady partner, steps forward. Her eyes, once filled with pride and resilience, are now clouded with grief. Her voice, when she speaks, is soft, almost sorrowful, but it carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. She urges the council to act quickly, to do what they can to protect what remains of Troy. The fate of the city lies not in the strength of its walls, but in the resolve of its people. There are calls to act, to move against the horse, to tear it down before it is too late. But there are others who hesitate, still clinging to fragile hope that peace might be possible. The debate is fierce, but each passing moment feels like another tick of the clock toward Troy's final hour. And then it is Laocoon who rises, his face pale but resolute. His voice, steady despite the fear that must grip his heart, cuts through the argument. The horse must be destroyed. We have trusted too much. The gods have given us a warning, and we have ignored it. His words hang in the air, but before anyone can respond, the first sound comes, the sound of something moving within the horse. A subtle creak, a shift that no one had expected, but which now confirms the suspicions that have lingered in the minds of few who dared to question. The people of Troy have been deceived, and the price of their trust is about to be paid in full. The time for debate is over. The fate of Troy rests not in the decisions of the elites, but in the actions they take in the moments that follow. But by then, the shadows of war have already taken root. Part 10, the final hour. As the realization of the Trojan horse's true nature sinks in, chaos erupts within the walls of the palace. The heated debates from earlier in the evening now give way to frantic action. Priam, Hecuba, and the other nobles, once so certain of their decisions, now stand paralyzed by the overwhelming consequences of their misjudgment. Outside the palace, the faint sounds of metal clashing, cries of anguish, and the unmistakable thud of footsteps marching through Troy's narrow streets signal the beginning of the end. Troy's elite, those who had once held the reins of power, now scramble in the wake of their choices. The council chambers, which were once the seat of decisions that shaped the fate of the city, now seem like a distant memory. The weight of their luxury, their comforts, now feels like an anchor, dragging them into the depths of their city's doom. The palace that had once stood as the heart of Troy now trembles under the sound of the enemy's movements. Laocoon's words, "We have trusted too much," echo through the chamber like a final warning. It is no longer just a matter of a Trojan victory or defeat. It is a question of survival. The noble warriors who once stood proud in their palatial halls now find themselves stripped of all the protective layers that wealth and status once provided. They are just as vulnerable as the common folk, if not more so, for they have underestimated their enemy and overestimated their own security. As the night deepens, the ground beneath the palace seems to tremble. The wooden legs of the Trojan horse creak as it is moved once more, this time from within the city. The Achaeans, hidden inside, begin to emerge, their faces grim and determined. The shadows of the horse stretch long across the marble floors of the city, casting a dark omen over the streets. The very walls that kept the Trojans safe for years now seem like futile defenses against the betrayal that has come from within. Priam, in the final moments of the city's last stand, looks out over the destruction that is unfolding before him. His gaze, though filled with the weight of father's grief, also bears the burden of a king's final duty, to lead his people, even when all hope seems lost. The king's heart, though heavy, remains steady as he gives the order to prepare the final defense. The nobles, now fully aware of their doom, begin to flee to the upper chambers, but there is no place of safety left for them. Their grand palace, once a symbol of their power, is now a trap, and they are caught in the very web they had woven. The once bright future of Troy is slipping through their fingers like sand. Hecuba, ever the voice of reason, stands by her husband's side. In her eyes, the same sorrowful acceptance begins to take shape. There will be no victory tonight. There will be no peace, no safe return for their children. Her hands tremble as she clasps her husband's, but even in the darkest moment, she carries a quiet strength. "We have loved, Priam," she whispers, as though speaking for the both of them. "We have loved, and in the end, that is what will remain." As Priam and Hecuba stand together in the final hours, their thoughts turn to their children, to Hector, whose spirit has carried them through the darkest days. They are no longer rulers of a proud city, but simply parents in the face of ruin, clinging to the last shred of their legacy. As the noise of battle rises, they realize that their sacrifice has become inevitable. There will be no more choices to make, only the weight of what has come before. And in this moment, as Troy falls, the horse stands as a cruel testament to the fragility of peace and the price of betrayal. The city of Troy, its walls, its warriors, its people, will be remembered not for their victories, but for the lessons they leave behind. The dawn will rise over the ruins, and the stories of Troy, of Hector, of the noble sacrifices made, will live on in the hearts of those who remember. The story of the Trojan horse will be told for centuries, not only as a tale of a city's destruction, but as a reminder that even the greatest empires can fall, and that trust once broken can never be fully restored. As the last echoes of Troy's fall resound to the night, the elites, now reduced to shadows and remnants of their grand city, are left to reflect on the ultimate cost of their choices. They had sought to protect what they loved, but in doing so, they have lost everything. And with that loss, the true story of Troy, its rise, its glory, and its tragic fall, comes to an end.